Hey, Travis Junrath here. I am doing my review video of David Copperfield. I couldn't do it last night because I had to go straight from David Copperfield to Penn and Teller. The show went a little longer than I expected. So, doing it in my hotel room this morning before I go out into the world. So, for a lot of people, David Copperfield just is magic. I think that's largely because of the TV specials. I just wasn't so exposed to him, so it wasn't like this long time idol. Not super familiar, honestly. I think I did see some of the specials as a kid, so I mean, generally familiar with his work, and he's obviously very successful. Has this great running show, and the most financially successful magician of all time. I guess depending on how you define magician. So the show itself, first off, just a little thing, the seating, the way it's set up, almost all of the seats are these small, there's small cocktail tables and then four seats around them. So might be kind of weird if you go like alone or as a pair, and then you would probably be with another couple. And I'll have a story about that, but I'm actually going to save that for the end of the video in case you just want to hear more about David Copperfield magic. So, just starting off with my favorite part, David Copperfield does large scale apparitions better than anyone else. So, he'll just make massive stuff appear, car, motorcycle, and it's really incredible. Just no idea how that could possibly be done. Uh, the A lot of the other stuff is like prediction tricks, um, generating stuff from the audience, and then I had this piece of paper in this box the whole time. I've seen every trick I've seen here in Las Vegas has had at least one of those. So it's three shows now. And Jay Alexander in San Francisco actually opens the show with that. Um, I'm not really into those tricks. I think because they don't hit me in the way where I'm like fooled. I don't know how it's done, but I don't have that feeling of like of belief. I think it's because for me it's like very obvious he didn't actually make that prediction. It's now a game of figuring out how did he make it look like he did a prediction. So that's kind of one of two things. How did they either uh, create the prediction in the box, like say printing or writing, or how did they create the prediction somewhere else and then get it to where it needs to be? So it's a very logical, heady thing for me. Whereas if I see like a motorcycle appear, there's still the part of my brain that just like thinks a motorcycle appeared. So it's much more basically satisfying. So I need it to either be like basically satisfying. In general, I don't find them artistically satisfying either. Um, so the fact that that was a good amount of the show. The uh, thing about the show that is by far better than anyone else is the production value. It is ridiculous. The lighting is amazing. Tiny bit over the top, but not just amazing that's over top, just like how well it's done. The audio, the direction, the crew is just absolutely incredible, and they have cameras going around the whole time. So even if you're further in the back like me, if it's not a giant trick like something appearing, then you can get a lot from the cameras. And what's really amazing about the cameras is when I look on the screen, it looks like I'm watching a television show in the best way. It doesn't look like I'm watching a camera at a venue, which is generally not as good of a quality. So I can see why this appeals to his audience, because the audience was very international. Lots of participants, and I'd say about 80% of them non-American. Some of them from non-English speaking countries. And I think for people coming and visiting America, seeing a television show live And not just like the taping of a television show, because it's like you're watching it in front of you, and then you look up on the screen and you're watching it, and it feels like you're watching a TV show. So it almost feels like you're doing both at the same time, not just that you're watching a taping. And unsurprisingly, someone who has made many amazing TV specials. So that's done really, really well, and I like it a lot. The international crowd, I think that was part of it. There's a few things that come together which make the interaction between David and the audience, I would say, more difficult than any other show that I've seen. He tends to give people instructions, and he just says it straight. He'll just say, like, you know, put the lid on the box. And for the audience, that seems like a very clear instruction. What happens is often the person doesn't get it, and usually for two reasons. Maybe English isn't their first language, and they're also very, very stimulated being on stage. So simple, clear instructions suddenly don't work to people when they're at that level of excitement. You know, their adrenaline's going there on stage. Honestly, it reminds me about when I used to teach people to fly airplanes. You know, you can just say the most basic instruction, and you're very calm. I was very calm in the airplane. You know, let's say at this point I had 1,000 hours of flying time, but they had like none. So a simple instruction, they wouldn't follow it. David Copperfield, obviously, very, very, very comfortable on stage. I'd say he's more comfortable on stage than most people are, like, anywhere, especially at work. Most people sitting at their desk are not nearly as comfortable as David Copperfield is on stage. So he would give them this instruction, and what's funny is when they didn't get it, he'll just sort of say it again, put the lid on the box, in the exact same way, which is how a lot of people communicate, and people don't understand things. The problem is, if they didn't understand it the first time, they either tuned it out or it just didn't register. That's probably what's going to happen the second time when you say it the exact same way. I think there's this part of your brain that says, oh, I already hear that, even though you didn't react to it. So that's why it's being said to you again. And at this point, he'll just sort of start like riffing on him, just like, put the lid on the goddamn box, and which gets a laugh from the audience. So I think it's a combination of him dealing with doing like 2 or 3 shows a day and having been doing it so long, and I think there really is some level of frustration there. But you just say things directly, and then you put it on them if they don't understand it. Now he's able to get away with this because it actually a lot of times is kind of funny, but I wouldn't say necessarily my favorite part. Other thing, not favorite part, definitely least favorite part, is about the second half of the show, before like the finale, encores and stuff, is this big story arc, which didn't resonate for me at all. It starts off with him talking about his childhood, and he actually talks about his childhood a few times. And as soon as you start with that, I put a note, why are magicians so obsessed with their childhood? I didn't think then that would be the kickoff point for like the next half hour of the show, because it wasn't your normal, when I was a kid I did this, please let me show it to you, or how I got into magic, or I used to do some random thing, now I'm going to do a trick about it. It just really went into this like crazy story arc, and it's meant to be super, super inspirational. Do the impossible, believe in yourself. I just didn't super feel those things at all. Really is the part of the show that would keep me from recommending it to any of my friends. If you're a magician and you want to see really big stuff appear, go. It's absolutely worth it. If you're just sort of more general, or just based on what I said, you can make up your own mind. Now, who I would recommend it to is if I saw a group of like 8 Chinese tourists, and they're like, we like magic and we love American television. Yeah, definitely go to the show. You will have a great time. You will love it. And I think they know that. I think the MGM Grand gets more international than anyone else. I think his show gets more people internationally than anyone else. Just the show felt like that, and the audience participation as well. So David Copperfield, still an incredible, incredible magician. Stylistically, certainly not my match. In a lot of ways, I don't know, I didn't really pull. I really want to do that. I want to be like that. I didn't pull any of those. I can think from the show. I would like to be as good at what I do as he is. That's for sure. Uh, so to go back to the story of my seating. So I got the tickets, or the ticket, it's just me, and it got pointed towards my seat. And at my seat, it was one of those tables, this little cocktail table with the four seats around it. And one seat was sort of squished to the side because the other three seats were taken up by large Russian dudes. So I came over and I'm like, oh, that's my seat. And they just seemed sort of surprised by this, as surprised as I was, and they started talking to each other in Russian. And the problem is there's so little room. My seat was facing 90 degrees away from the stage, and I couldn't even really like turn it towards the stage. I'm craned, just super uncomfortable. And the show's still about to get started. And I look, and more center stage, because I'm also like stage right, but further back center stage are some empty rows, and the show's about to get started. So I just go and get up and walk towards an empty row and sit in these empty seats, lots of empty seats on either side of me. Now, still, it's like after the time the show should have started. The show started later than any other show. It's like 7. I think the show started, felt like 7:10 or so. And still, there's a few more people coming in. And I have a feeling that the ushers are going to catch me. Also, just based on the way all the other stuff that they did. Like at the beginning of the show, they just make a huge, huge deal about not taking any pictures or videos. Such a big deal. It's crazy. And so I have this feeling that Usher's going to come over me. So I have my notepad in front of me that I've been taking these shows, and I write notes. I write the timing of tricks. And I write on a new piece of paper, my seat stinks. Can I please stay here? And out of the corner of my eye, I see some ushers talking, and I knew it was about me. And one of them comes over, she says, "Can I please see your ticket?" So I, without saying anything, hand her the notepad. So, which is probably kind of funny for her. First of all, she doesn't know if I can like even speak, and she goes, "Okay, where is your seat?" And I point, "Oh, it's over by the exit sign over there." I just couldn't, I just couldn't really finish the stage. She's like, "Well, I can't let you stay here. These tickets are actually sold, and we never know when they're gonna show up. I do have some empty seats," and she has a little Post-it note on her hand that has some seat numbers, but they're gonna be 1 or 2 rows back. Is that okay? She's so nice. Like, I'm sitting in the wrong seat, and she offers me a different seat for my seat, trying to make me happy. Is that okay? And I say, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I think her name was Dana, so she was cool. She was super nice. Better than I deserved. I probably should have just talked to an usher instead of going and taking someone else's seat and writing a note like a crazy person. And so she sat me down there, and from there it was a really nice seat. It was very far away, but I got the ticket last minute, and but still with the cameras and stuff, the cameras are fine for the close up. The massive stage setup I was able to see really well, and far away it's a really small theater, so less than 90 feet, I would guess. So overall, great time. The show ended at 8:45, so that's why I had to just like rush over to the Penn and Teller show. So I got from the MGM Grand to the Penn and Teller show, bought a ticket, and I think I missed about 60 seconds of the show, which I would not recommend. I would recommend getting there half an hour, an hour. I would recommend getting there like an hour early and sit in for the whole chat. But that's about the Penn and Teller show. Anyway, David Copperfield, absolutely incredible magician, but still probably not the show for me.